Hey guys, this is Mark from FwdCompatible. I just wanted to let you know about this phenomenal events going down at Orlando Fashion Square Mall. On Saturday, July 13th, you can play Injustice Gods Among Us and compete to win a Sony PlayStation 4. It's only $10 to enter, and all the proceeds will go to the New Hope for Kids charity. Orlando Fashion Square Mall is located at 3201 East Colonial Drive in Orlando, Florida. You can check out orlandofashionsquare.com for more details. You can pre-register, win some cool prizes, and help support an awesome charity. Thanks for listening and enjoy the show.
Welcome once again to the FwdCompatible podcast. This is episode 74, part 2 for July 7th, 2013. My name's Tony, and I'm joined, as always, by my fellow podcasters, Jason, vice host Brian,
what up?
Dungeon
Master of Ceremonies.
Dungeon Master of Ceremonies, Moss. And Cup on the floor.
Yeah.
How's everybody doing? Welcome back. If you're just joining us, please do click out now or at the end of the show. It's really irrelevant. To part 1, we have reader questions as well as the news of the week. And this, of course, is part 2, where we're going to cover
Tony's topic of the week.
Yes, I like it.
I love is that Siri?
Yeah.
That's awesome. It's awesome.
He's like, it's awesome. It's so good. It's so good when it hits your lips. Yeah. I don't know.
You had no way of segueing.
I couldn't get out of that. I couldn't get out of that. I was quoting what's going on, just like, yeah.
So your
Oh,
topic.
my boy Blue! There you go.
Well, I switched it up kind of last minute because I knew Mas was joining us, and I wanted to get his opinions and takes on certain things. So I pinched hit at the last minute.
Pinch the loaf?
We were going to do the fall of Sega, but we'll hang on to that for another day.
Good.
Everybody's depressed. Everybody's like, I really wanted to talk about Sega.
We wanted to bury them in the ground, and you're not letting us.
Well, we're talking about Nintendo, which is what does Sega do that doesn't involve Nintendo that's actually decent these days?
These days, not much.
The one Total War series is cool. That has nothing to do with Nintendo.
That's
It's
true.
about it.
Yeah.
It's a PC series, isn't it? Yeah.
You know what Sega's best-selling games are?
Alien Colonials Marines.
No. Mario and Sonic at the Olympics.
Probably.
They are. They're the best-selling Sonic games that are out. But
Yeah, you put that redheaded plumber on anything, he sells units. So it's not too much of a topic. I guess we could generalize it under Nintendo. I feel bad because the last few weeks post E3, we've really been covering extensively the PS4 and the Xbox One comparisons and the Xbox 180 and the DRM versus the used games, and we kind of been really quiet about Nintendo the last month or so, with the exception of the actual E3 grading. And we haven't talked to Mas since E3, so I'd like to kick it all off with some of your opinions on E3. Obviously, you're not able to go as in-depth as we were because we don't have that much time. But if you want to give a quick 3 or 4 minute summary on Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo each, and then grade them at the end and who you think won, just spend 5 minutes or so.
Sony won for sure.
Okay.
It was just public perception just crushed everything. You can see it with pre-orders and everything. That said, Microsoft has done a 180 with their system, and now they're almost trying to get back to where they were a few months ago with Microsoft. But and then Nintendo basically didn't show up, both figuratively and literally, in my opinion. They dropped the ball. They had so little pressure, and they didn't, and so little to hit, and they missed the mark. With that said, the biggest thing I took away, really, I mean, there's a lot of hype around the new consoles. Outside of 1 or 2 games for the PS3, PS4, and the 720 or 18
Xbox One.
outside of 1 or 2 games, there's nothing that really jumps out to me that says this is a next-gen experience. And I think that was a little upsetting, actually, to me. Because nothing, like, really, like Titanfall, like, they couldn't put Titanfall on the, isn't that actually a PS?
It's coming on the 360.
360 game, okay. I mean, there's not many exclusive next-gen games that really stand out to me like, oh wow, this is the reason why I need to jump. And there's like collectively a few that might collectively make people want to jump, but I don't know. Like, I don't think the leap to next gen is as big this time around. And I think we're gonna get all the early adapters, like just the crazies like us, that are gonna get the next consoles. But I don't think the transition's gonna be nearly as quickly. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. This is your time to go nuts. To vent it all out.
Yeah.
Sir.
So I think there was a few standout titles for the Xbox One. Project Spark was the big game to me that stood out. I don't know if you even care about a game like that.
I'm getting it. I've actually already signed up to the beta for it.
Okay. Now is that coming out on 360 though?
No.
I know it's coming out on Windows. So that game was like. That was the only game really at the Xbox One conference that stood out to me as, wow, this looks really good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Titanfall. What's that new Quantum
Conundrum?
No. The one from Insomniac?
No. From Quantic.
Talking about Quantic Dream? Talking about Beyond Two Souls?
No. The other Quantic. There's like a new Quantic.
Quantum Break.
There you go. Okay, there you go.
I thought that looked awful. I thought it looked really bad.
That's from the guys who do Alan Wake.
Yes. And then every other game they showed, like all these, like they showed Forza, which I'm sure it'll be good. It's it's like to me Forza's like Madden. I don't know, it's just me. I don't really care for it. It's a sports game. And then you've got the new Call of Duty game, and you got, what else is?
What'd you think of Rise?
Rise, I think, is garbage. I think it's a connect transferred game, and now they're like, when you think of Rise, the whole talking point behind Rise is it going to be quick time events? Nobody even cares about the game. They're just saying, they're trying to defend the game, saying it's not going to be quick time events. It's not going to use connect. Like, what kind of reputation is this game garnering already? We're talking about what it's not going to have as its big features. Like, it doesn't look impressive. I don't know. I think they're gonna. I think Rise is going to be this generation's version of Perfect Dark Zero, where everybody leading up to the 360 was like, that's the big game to get. That's your one big exclusive right there, Perfect Dark Zero. And then the game comes out and absolutely is garbage. I think that'll be Rise, and then 2, 3, 4 years from now we'll laugh at it as a joke. But yeah, that's what I think of Xbox One. I think it'll still do well. I think Microsoft is going to struggle with the transition, though. I think their huge fan base of Call of Duty players will not transition this year or next year. I think it might take 3-4 years, especially at a price point of $500. I mean, even if you're not a Microsoft fan at all, if you're like a kid, and it's like, oh, I can get a 360 for $200 or a One for $500. It's like, for the next 3 years, you might think, okay, I'll just get the 360 here. But that's my take on Microsoft. PlayStation got all the praise and hype because of the used games and all that, and I think deservingly so, but when you step back and look at it, they didn't really show anything that's coming out within the first few months outside of Killzone and Infamous and Knack those are the big exclusives coming there. I don't care for Killzone. That's just not my genre of game. Neither do I care for Infamous. Knack, I think, will be an amazing game, but it's Mark Cerny is making it, and if you ever look at the games he's worked on, he hasn't made a bad game for almost 20 years. He's worked on God of War, on Uncharted. He's worked on Jak and Daxter. He's worked on Crash Bandicoot, Sonic the Hedgehog. I mean, he literally hasn't done a bad game. So Knack will be good. But there doesn't seem to be too much games coming out for the for the PS4 in that first 6 months that are really going to be interesting to me. So I think the early adapters, they're going to, it's going to be sort of Wii U-ish, where they're going to play those few exclusives, they're going to enjoy them, and then everything else they're going to play is the third-party games that they've been playing for years, the Assassins, the Call of Duty, the Battlefield, and the games that they could play on this gen, Watch Dogs and such. Watch Dogs looks good, but it's a this gen game that is carrying over. Same with like Batman and all that. So that's my take on PS4 as well. Mm-hmm. There are a few good games that are coming out in the distance that we don't know when, like Project Spark. We don't know when. The Order 1886 looks good.
Yeah, that game looks good.
What's the website?
The Order-1886.net, the newest member of the Dungeon Gaming Network. Check it out. We have candy.
We have stuff and things.
But it's Ready at Dawn, I think is the studio, and Santa Monica. So they also don't make bad games. So it'll be good. I heard it's going to be a little more cinematic, and it's going to be a 10-hour game, so we'll see. But, yeah. On Nintendo side, should I jump into Nintendo?
Go ahead, yeah.
Okay.
This is just your E3 thoughts.
Before you do, I do have one question. Are you planning on picking up either of the two next gen?
I think I'm going to get a PS4 at launch.
Okay.
And more because I think I just need to for website-related business stuff. From a personal standpoint, there's
you could write it off as a tax expense.
Damn right. But there's nothing that stands out in that first year that really makes me want to get
so
it.
far.
Yeah. Knack is the only game at launch that I'm excited to play. I legitimately want to get my hands on it.
Katamari platformer?
I'm thinking it's more Crash Bandicoot-ish.
Really? You think so? I remember watching the demo, but I don't remember too closely. But I thought it looked really cool, too.
Yeah. Then on Nintendo's front, I think they're just doing things backwards where the games they have announced and are coming out are almost coming out in the wrong order. We're going to get through this holiday season, and we're not going to see any of their real system sellers, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't think...
They're all announced for next year.
I don't think Mario 3D World is a system seller.
Mario with cats?
No, I think it'll be good, but it's to Mario 3. I mean, it's like a sequel to Mario 3D Land, it seems. What Nintendo really is doing, and you can tell based on their lineup, is they're trying to transition 3DS fans to being Wii U fans. Mm-hmm. Mario 3D World is a sequel to 3D. It's a sequel to 3D Land. They just released Donkey Kong Country for the 3DS. Mm-hmm. Now they're going to bring a new one to the Wii U. It's almost like they're just
trying the cross-platform play with Smash Brothers.
Yes,
another one.
Yeah. So, I mean, they've got a slew of decent first-party games. I think with Pikmin's coming out. They've got Donkey Kong coming out. They've got Mario coming out. But it's sequel after sequel after sequel. They're running into the same trend that I think the whole industry has had the last 2-3 years. But now Nintendo is doing it. I don't know. And then they got like Yarn Yoshi. Like,
it worked with Kirby, but
that was fine.
Yeah.
But
for 5-year-olds.
I like that game. Fuck you guys.
Kirby's Epic Yarn?
Kids games.
I love
I never
that
played
game.
it.
Kid
Was
games.
it good?
Tony's Kitty Corner.
I don't care, man. You guys are not going to talk. I love that game. I don't
Tony's
care.
Kitty
That's
Corner.
one of my favorite Wii games. I'm not even kidding.
So I think now the install base is they got some work to do, and they're not going to do it with Pikmin. They're not going to do it with Wind Waker HD. They're not going to do it with Donkey Kong. These are all good games that if the install base was decent, everybody would buy it.
Add-on games.
Everybody
Exactly.
would buy them, but because the system sellers are not there yet, they're not going to buy them.
All right, I'm going to stop you right there for 1 second because this is my first bullet point, so this way we can all jump in. Is what's going on with Nintendo lately?
What is the deal with Nintendo?
Not in a. I guess what in the back of my head I wanted this to be a positive
kind of reassure everyone that Nintendo's doing okay.
If Nintendo was to listen to us, we can help them out. And I think you're bananas.
Look, Nintendo. The person that Nintendo can learn from the most is Nintendo. Look back to the launch of the Wii. I know in hindsight people don't think the Wii, it's got like a mixed reputation even though it sold like 100 million. But that game, it launched with Twilight Princess. Mm-hmm. It launched with Wii Sports. Mm-hmm. Now, Wii Sports was obviously the big system seller and all, but you know, you launch with the brand new Zelda game launching for. Granted, it was like a GameCube. Yeah, they pushed
whatever. I mean, that's
it
okay.
Came out first on the Wii.
Mm-hmm.
So day one, you can buy a Zelda game.
Mm-hmm.
Day one, you bought Wii Sports, and then they
Wii Sport came with the system.
Yeah, it's packed in.
Yeah. In the U.S., not in the house, but that first
America.
Yeah.
The only country that matters.
And then within that first year, 1 year later, we got Mario Galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
We got it was a more of an evolutionary, of the 3D platformer for Mario. It was much different than Sunshine was, and it was a terrific game, and it was in the first calendar year. Mm-hmm. It was not just a sequel to another game they've done before. It was brand new. Mm-hmm. Everybody who had a Wii wanted Mario Galaxy, and it sold well. It sold like 12 million units. Mm-hmm. They capitalized that right away within the next 6 months with a new Mario Kart for the Wii and with Super Smash Brothers. Mm-hmm. So, in that first 18-month period, you had a must-buy Zelda game, a must-buy Mario game, Mario Kart, and Smash Brothers, these are all the core. So even without that Wii Sports phenomenon, I think they had a solid launch lineup.
Here's something I brought up a couple weeks back when you weren't here, and I would love to hear your thoughts on it because I really don't know. You got what did the GameCube sell?
Like 23 million or something.
Okay,
like, yeah.
Give it 25 million. Now I know they look at it like these same titles that we're always referencing that are the system sellers. GameCube had all those. Why do we think that maybe didn't do as well, but it helped showcase the Wii? I mean, they had Smash Brothers Brawl. They had Wind Waker. They had what the fuck was the Mario one? Sunshine. They had all that stuff.
I don't think they did.
Okay.
They had a Mario game. They had Sunshine, but it was not a revolutionary jump. Like I think
it was not out. There was nothing at launch for the GameCube.
It was Sunshine.
Luigi's Mansion.
Yeah.
Well, and
Super Monkey Ball.
Rogue Leader was really good.
Yeah, and I think like Pikmin came out.
I don't know. Pikmin wasn't that, but yeah.
Anyway, I thought Galaxy was a big leap forward for the Mario franchise.
Wow.
Sunshine wasn't. So that's I think there's a difference there. Wind Waker it tore
the fans in half.
A lot of Zelda fans looked at that and said,
I was one of them.
And it was several years into the launch of the system.
Before, yeah.
Mm-hmm. They did that, Mario Kart was like Double Dash. It wasn't really like it didn't have the same effect as either Mario Kart 64 or Mario Kart Wii did.
So you think the GameCube didn't sell well enough because the individual games didn't push their particular
genre
they were
forward. Decent games, but nothing.
If I can,
because I never understood that. Because people are like, "Oh, wait till the Wii U gets Zelda." It's like, yeah, but GameCube had Zelda. It didn't sell shit.
When you look in the perspective of this, and I'm gonna exclude Zelda for just a minute. Sunshine was essentially Super Mario 64 with a gimmick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mario Kart Double Dash was Mario Kart with a gimmick. They just tacked on these weird expansions onto the core gameplay, and I don't think they necessarily worked.
Galaxy's a good platformer. It just could have, not Galaxy, Sunshine. Mm-hmm. I could have dealt without the stupid water back then.
And that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's the gimmick.
That's the gimmick.
It would have been a lot better without it.
Like when I play Sunshine. It's hard to go back and play Sunshine right now, by the way.
Yeah.
It hasn't aged well. And
the cameras are broken in that game.
But Mario 64 you can go back and play.
Yeah.
Like, you can tell what the GameCube's problem was by that fact.
Mm-hmm. And then you had Wind Waker come out, and Wind Waker was such a drastic jump from Majora, which was the last one. Mm-hmm. And even the teaser trailer that they made during the prior year's E3, which eventually ended up looking like Twilight when you think about it. Mm-hmm. It was such a drastic jump from, it's like, and here's the new Zelda, and I remember them showing his little eyes, and he looked to the left, and it's like, the fuck is that?
Right.
That was my exact reaction, was like, literally, what the fuck
you
was
heard,
that?
You heard what Miyamoto said after that presentation, right?
No, what?
He said, why aren't they cheering?
Did he?
Yeah. Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
After which?
After
After
Wind
they
Waker.
showed
Wind Waker
Wind
when they
Waker.
showed it on the GameCube.
He wasn't. He
And,
did,
and
he-
look, I liked Wind Waker, but I get why people freaked out over it.
It's my
I
least
I
favorite
freaked
Zelda
out.
I've played.
I freaked out with it. I sold my GameCube.
Out of all the Zeldas I've played, which excludes some of the handhelds, I played most of the at-home console ones. Wind Waker is by far my least favorite.
Really?
So, some people like Wind Waker. I think it's gone more of like a retroactive fan base. You know? So,
No,
I agree.
Like
I agree.
like fans who think Wind Waker is the best Zelda, which there are. I think they formulated that opinion in like 2008, not 2003.
Right.
You know.
It's got some serious flaws in it, but
No.
it's still a Zelda. It's not crap.
I mean,
Right.
and my exact thing with it, and I know I've touched base on it before. It was like when I finally bit the dust and got into it and picked up Wind Waker for like $20 when it was one of those or GameCube Select titles or whatever it was. 15 minutes into it, I forgot about why I hated it to begin with.
No.
Because it was at the core, it was a Zelda game. It was good.
Yeah.
It was fun. But I don't know. That stark transition is really what kind of threw me off of the GameCube for X amount of time.
Since we're on Wind Waker, I know we all talked about this. I don't know if you've been on the show since. What do you think about not the Wind Waker HD, but them picking that as the one to go back and do, as opposed to one of the many other Zeldas that can are in need of an HD remake, if any?
I look at Wind Waker and there's like the Nintendo Dolphin emulator, and you up reses the game to 1080, and I actually think the GameCube 1080 version
Looks better than what the HD Wii U
almost
version?
comparable. They changed the look a little
They're
bit.
replacing some textures and stuff, but overall it looks very similar.
It seems unnecessary.
That was the last game that needed an HD.
Well, it's also one of the.
I think they could have done the HD thing and just replaced some of the textures with higher resolution textures, and it would have been the same. I don't think they need to do as much work as they're doing
Yeah,
on
but
it.
like you alluded to earlier, isn't it one of the ones that gets the most split?
Yeah.
Like, so it seems like they're going back to beat the wrong drum again.
I think they could have. I mean, what were they going to do? Remake Ocarina of Time?
No, but
Majora's Mask? I mean,
they could have done
Yes.
they could have done that. Like, people are calling for that to be remade on the 3DS.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe they
even something like Twilight Princess that isn't that old, but
It would be
it's
harder
too
to
new
do.
and.
well, what year did Twilight Princess come out?
It was a launch title of
It
the
was
Wii.
06.
06.
Okay,
So one thing about one of the
yeah,
reasons
that is a little new. Then.
one of the reasons they chose Wind Waker is because they're for whatever reason on the Nintendo Wii U eShop, Virtual Console, whatever, you can download everything from 64 and prior, and the Wii U plays Wii games. So the only
GameCube was the only one that
the only
wasn't
console
available.
the only Zelda game you can't play if you don't have a 3DS or Wii U is
Game is
Wind Waker.
I would almost rather have seen Wind Waker come out on 3DS.
No, well, here's the thing.
Without the 3D, I mean, forget the 3D
no,
gimmick
it's not
because
about the 3D
nobody
gimmick.
uses that.
It's the 3DS is actually lower resolution than the GameCube. So it'd actually be a graphics downgrade.
Yeah, but still,
And I
mean,
think the 3DS is actually less powerful than the GameCube, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but the Wind Waker is the easiest to upres because of the graphics. It's the easiest.
The
the
cell
least amount
shading
of work.
makes it
Yeah,
easy.
it's the least amount of work they have to do to upgrade it. Any Zelda would be Wind Waker.
It might have just been a business decision
Yeah.
where doing Majora's Mask or doing Ocarina would have to take considerable amount of work, and just from a financial perspective, maybe they thought we can do this with a small team. Upgrade the graphics, fix a few things. They're not even changing much of the game.
what was
Not
the
even-
install base on N64? Does anybody remember
It's
that?
about 40 million.
Okay. So you figure 40 million people had the potential to play Ocarina and Majora, which are
I
held
think
in,
it's like 35 million.
they're held in pretty high regard regardless, right?
Yeah.
You know, as to where we had 25 million for the GameCube,
Yeah.
and then Wind Waker wasn't the launch, so by that time, you know, the install base was probably even smaller.
It was sort
So
of dead in
maybe,
the water.
Maybe it was
GameCube,
another
though.
way to get that game in other people's hands because, I mean, it is a great game, you know, and what better way than to bring it back into the forefront on a system that maybe didn't showcase it properly.
Yeah.
regardless of visually. I'm saying just to the install.
Right. It's probably a combination of those things. You know, just wanted to capitalize on that. I think that Ocarina of Time would have sold more, or Twilight Princess might have even sold more than Wind Waker with an HD remake. But they just did Ocarina of Time for 3DS, and I think that Twilight Princess would take a lot more effort to up-res, because they have to redo all the textures, whereas Wind Waker doesn't have that many textures.
But when
it's mostly cel-shaded.
When you consider what Mas brought up earlier about them trying to bring the install base from the 3DS over to the Wii U, it would make sense for them to then make Majora for Wii U.
It would. Well, but
Technically.
I think it'd be easier for
Technically,
them to make, I think it'd be easier to make Majora for the 3DS, because didn't Majora use the same engine as Ocarina? So they have already written half that new engine.
Yeah.
So I think that it would be easier to bring it to the 3DS. And what I think they should do is find a way to do cross-platform saves and bring them to both. And then you can play Zelda on the go when you're out.
That would be
You
phenomenal.
come home, sync it to your Wii U, and keep playing from there. That's what Sony's doing.
It sounds like
That's what Sony's doing with the
cloud gaming,
Vita, kind of.
cloud saves.
Well, it's cloud saves, yeah, but
And
that's
cross-
cross-compatible, which is what Sony is doing. And I think Nintendo should be doing that with Zelda games.
Or they should do it with all their major titles.
Well,
Why
but
not?
they have to have versions for both. It's expensive. They have to sell enough copies for it to be worth
Yeah,
their
but
while.
see,
They're doing it with Smash Brothers.
Smash
why-
Brothers will sell a lot.
Why
and
not
it's-
Mario
and it's
Kart?
an
You know
easier,
how- look how
it's an
huge
easier
Mario
save
Kart
for
is
them.
on
But see,
handheld.
that's going to work counterproductively toward the Wii U. The Smash Brothers could have sold Wii U's. People already own the 3DS. They could just, instead of buying for Smash Brothers a $350 piece of equipment, they're just going to buy the $50 piece of software.
But you can't play Smash Brothers on
40.
a big screen TV.
Whatever the hell it is.
So
That's the only difference is you can't play Smash Brothers on a big screen TV.
But,
3DS
one thing
version.
about Smash Brothers that I don't know if you guys know, that game was a 3DS only game, and then they decided
to,
to make it a Wii U and a 3DS game.
I was unaware of that.
Yeah, they realized that the Wii U needs it. The 3DS, I don't know, maybe it'd be a better idea just only make it on the 3DS, and 2 years later make it on the Wii. But going back checking just a tad. One thing about the GameCube is that it came out a year after the PS2, and the PS2 caught fire right away.
Yeah, it's true.
And never slowed down until like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
in some countries, it's still on fire.
Yeah.
Right, but like with the Wii, the Xbox 360 came out a year before, but that didn't catch fire until 2007, 2008, and then it until now. So like the GameCube, it was struggling with competition, I think, against PS2. It just really couldn't compete. It was like Nintendo took a big hit with third parties at the time.
That was still when Yamauchi was still in charge, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
It all started with the 64.
Well, yeah, that's when they started going downhill. But
People were
they
upset about
transitioned.
buying a $50 cartridge blank from Nintendo,
Right.
and then making $3 on their game selling them for
Right, but that was under Yamauchi, and then
And they could go to
Iwata
Sony and buy a $3 disc and make $50 on a game.
Well, not 50, but yeah, they make like $20 instead of
yeah.
Just giving an
point-
example.
Yeah,
Point taken.
Mr. Technical.
Right. Sorry.
If he didn't do it, Mark would have. And it would have been one of the other guys.
Fucking dicks.
Like when I think of the GameCube's era, like it's a little different than the Wii U because I think the games don't hold up. I really don't. I think the Mario, it fell short. And there was only one. There was only one Zelda. Well, there was two with Twilight Princess, but that
There was
doesn't really
one
count.
because nobody cared because they had moved on to the Wii U was the next big thing.
GameCube was dead. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, the Smash was huge. I mean, Melee was the big game.
Oh, yeah.
that made- That's why one. Like,
Nobody cared about the original. I mean, yes, in hindsight, the original Smash Brothers was awesome, but it didn't become the
It
phenomenon
wasn't big.
until GameCube.
Yeah, Melee was the game to have, and I want to say it's like 10 million. So
Yeah.
it was almost like a
almost 50,
50% of GameCube owners had
It was
Smash.
2-to-1 ratio on Smash Brothers. Yeah,
And no game has that.
and if I remember correctly, even when I came into GameStop in 2004, that game was still like $40-$50.
Oh
It
yeah,
was still
and rarely available. Yeah.
So I mean, that was it. Didn't have games. I mean, when I think of the best GameCube games, I think of like Capcom's Resident Evil games, and I think of Smash Brothers and Wind Waker, and that's it. You know, it's
See,
not
now, I mean,
laundry list
for
of
me,
games.
I did, even though it was gimmicky,
Metroid Prime is
Yeah.
one.
Mario
Yeah.
Kart, just because that was like sitting around playing it with friends.
Yeah.
You know, and being able to do the system link and everything.
I don't think it had the system selling power.
No,
that
it
previous
was a
post
great add-on
did.
to my pre-existing system. Though.
Yeah.
You know.
But
Well, it's interesting because, like, okay, then you think that's similar to what? Because the
Chibi
next thing
Robo.
I have is why do we think the Wii U is struggling, like constructively?
well, before we get to that, we have
Yeah.
to understand the difference between the GameCube and the Wii, like how I was explaining. I think Galaxy was a big jump. I don't think Sunshine was. That's why Galaxy, I think, helped push sales. Obviously, Wii Sports was the big trigger here, but I mean,
Got a lot of grandmas and stuff that never
did.
picked up
It
the
did.
console before to buy a console.
Twilight Princess was more of a mainstream Zelda that the 64 audience, that those like 7 million people that bought Ocarina of Time wanted Twilight Princess, and thus all of them bought Twilight Princess.
There's one other thing. Sorry, I don't mean to.
But let me just finish my
yeah.
point. And then Brawl just carried over what Melee did. It was, I mean, that was a good game on Melee, and then so it was like they hit every chord right on the Wii, where they fell short so many times. I think on the GameCube. So I think it was the software that Nintendo put out with Mario Galaxy, with Zelda, and then with their new other games that they brought. They brought back Donkey Kong Country Returns was big. They did put out Metroid Prime 3. They put out New Super Mario Brothers. They brought that back, and they had like hit after hit after hit of first-party games that the GameCube just didn't have. The GameCube didn't have nearly as many.
What about Chibi Robo though?
Yes. So
that sold what, 50 copies?
Yeah.
So now I think the Wii U is they're not reinventing their franchises at all. They're going back to the GameCube era.
Yeah,
where
the gimmicks.
like Mario 3D World
With a cat. It's Mario with a cat suit.
It's
That's
a
the gimmick.
I'm a huge Mario fan. I'm not excited about this new Mario at all.
Right, people who've played it say they love it, but come on, has there been a Mario game you've played in the last 10 years that you really haven't liked when you first played it?
They've got the formula down.
I mean, it's a Mario game. It doesn't have the power.
It's like going to a Disney movie. You already know that somebody's going to die. There's going to be some tragedy, and then somebody's going to come
All of
forward.
a sudden, a teapot kettle comes to life and starts dancing around.
There's going to be a song.
I think there's one other thing that helped the Wii sell. It was a combination of two things that really sold the Wii. Wii Sports, $250.
Yeah.
The competition at the time of the Wii launch was the Xbox 360 and the PS3. The PS3 was still $600.
$599 US.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the
Xbox
Xbox
was
360
$400.
was $400 or $500 or $300 or $400.
400.
It's $300 for the arcade and $400 for the one with the hard drive.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted the arcade version, so it
No,
was
I think they
$400.
might have canceled it by then.
So,
Yeah.
so that brings up one of my next points. Is the Wii U now, in retrospect, too highly priced?
Yes.
Yes.
If you look, I don't know if you guys know this history lesson. NES launched $199.99. Super Nintendo launched $199.99. So $200 for the NES, $200 for Super Nintendo, $200 for the Nintendo 64, $200 for the GameCube. They jumped it up to $250 for the Wii.
But they gave you a game. And that was
They gave you a
they
game with
always
the
gave-
Nintendo
yeah.
and Super Nintendo as well.
yeah.
And
N64 didn't.
No, it did not.
Yeah.
No, it didn't. But
The
then
GameCube came with a demo, I think. Maybe. I
the
don't know.
Wii U, $350. So
Which sounded fine before E3. When
it sounded-
people assumed the PS4 and the Xbox One were going to be $550, possibly $6, the $350 Wii U looked like an okay deal.
I still don't think it
Now,
was even then.
when you look at it, it's only $50 cheaper than the PlayStation 4, and the PlayStation 4 makes up that $50 alone in hard drive. A 500 gig hard drive is $50.
Considering the power of the Wii U,
That's what I'm getting. That's what I'm getting to next. I'm just saying, just the $50 you could already stand up for it in PlayStation's defense on the hard drive. Then you look at the internals, the guts of it,
yeah.
and
I-
now the Wii U doesn't look like as good of a deal.
I don't even see it as that. I see it as a PlayStation 3 is $300 with a bundled game, or even $250 I think with a bundled game.
Yeah.
And the Wii U is $350 with a
And they're
bundled
about
game.
the same.
And
It's
yeah,
not as good of a bundled game, although it is fun. It's
I mean,
not.
you get the gamepad and all, so I understand a little bit of a price, price jump, but and then the 360s are what, $200?
Yep.
Yeah.
So $200 or $350, I don't.
And
see
then
it.
if you wait for the holiday sale for the 360, they throw in 2 games for $250.
And that's not to mention with if you pick up a 360 for $150 less, you're opening yourself up to an arsenal of literally over 1,000 games.
Well, that's a fake argument because I mean the Wii U you have the same arsenal of games.
You have like
the
25
Wii.
games.
Well,
Well, the
I
Wii
mean,
games.
with Wii games and
No, I'm not talking backwards compatibility. There's over 1,000 360 games.
Yeah.
Trust me, I know I work at GameStop. The SKUs ran out. They had it.
Let's jump up to
Not,
the
it's
next one.
952 and 953 because they ran out of 952s.
okay, yeah.
There's
I
over
understand.
1,000
Okay, yeah,
discs
yeah, yeah.
to
Yeah,
play
but-
on the 360.
Yeah.
I mean, I think backwards compatibility is a fair argument, though. You could play that, and then eventually, when they get their act together and have the entire virtual console library there, I mean, you can play.
They're never gonna get their act together on that. It's so frustrating. They've had like 6 years.
But like the games that you could buy on the Wii Virtual Console, you can't buy them on the Wii U. Like,
No, you kids it drives me nuts.
like, so the Wii U, I don't really think it's competing with the PS4. I really don't. I don't really think there's that many people out there that are going to be like. I think there's a lot of people that will be like, should I buy the Wii U or not? I don't think there's going to be people out there that will be like, should I buy the Wii U or the PS4?
Well, for me,
You always think it's a secondary console, right?
For me, in the situation that I'm in now, I was on the fence about a Wii U. I'd said that since
I've
day
been
one.
on the fence since
I
day
had
one.
one pre-ordered
Still
at
don't
one
know.
point. It just passed on it, whatever. But now with the new consoles, that for me almost even falls farther behind because my 360 and my PS3 will then become my secondary console to my Xbox One and my PlayStation 4. So then where do I have the room for my Wii U now? And I come into the conflict of, am I really going to spend $350 to play the
one
new
or two
Zelda game?
games.
No, right now, I'm looking into the future, spending, because they said no price cut anytime soon, okay? But we do know that there's obviously a new Zelda in development. So let's say it's $350 when the new Zelda comes out. I don't know if I'm going to jump on that at all.
$410 plus tax to play a Zelda game.
I don't know if I can do that, financially.
It's a fair argument. Well, one thing with the lack of backwards compatibility with the new game consoles, really, your old consoles are still going to be relevant.
For now.
Which is a problem for, I think, Microsoft and Sony in a way, because
I think it's a mistake, too.
the games you're going to be playing are going to be cross-compatibility games for the most part, games that are on PS3 and PS4.
Even if, and I'm not trying to get too far off of it, if Microsoft allowed me to, and I'm using them because obviously I have the Xbox One pre-order currently, if they would allow me to play my virtual console games that I have downloaded, or Xbox Live games, then my 360 would be gone tomorrow.
Microsoft did an excellent job. It was a very dick move, but that's why the 360 flourished. They gave you 6 months on your original Xbox, and they just cut support.
Yeah,
that was it. Do you want to play? We have a 360.
And if they did that again, I'd
No, they should give you. I don't agree that they should brick your console. People should still be able to even get online with them, but they should stop supporting them.
Yeah.
No more games should be coming out 6 months after the Xbox One comes out.
Tony, the difference is like there was probably more people in this room that were playing. that nobody was playing the Xbox at that point in time in 2006.
Yeah, that's the thing. The Xbox
was like a niche console.
It was the only people who had the Xbox were people who wanted to play Halo and a couple other shooters. That was it.
It had I don't know what the Xbox Live subscribership was, maybe 2 million people at the launch of the 360. Now it's 40 million people. So you of the 2 million core Xbox fans though, half of them probably jumped aboard right away.
And those core fans got to play all the games that they wanted to play on the Xbox One, on the Xbox 360.
See, this I don't know. I'm just looking at it differently because I understand what you guys are saying. You can't just screw those people over. But if you look at what's happening, even in Japan right now with the Vita and the PSP, Sony is still supporting the PSP so well with so many games. It's actually hurting their new
Vita.
product. The PSP is still outselling the Vita every single month in Japan, software-wise and hardware-wise, because they keep supporting it. If they just stopped and all these games that they're making for the PSP, they made them on the Vita. You want to play these? buy the new generation.
Well, that's a big assumption to make that the consumer will do that. That they will, shell out $300 to buy a console.
Not for one game or 2 games, but when you give them 10 games,
right? You're thinking
little by little that they want to pick up,
And
they're
if-
going to buy your new hardware.
And if the
Well,
PSP hardware
you have to-
is still selling in
And
Japan,
they made a better deal in Japan for the Vita as well. Because in Japan, with the Vita, you could send in your games or whatever, and they would give you the PSP version or the Vita version of that game on like the disc that you had. You could trade in a certain number of those games and get the downloadable version of those games.
You would get
When
like
you bought
half
Vita.
off the digital
Yeah,
price.
you'd get you get some sort of discount. To
You had
help
to sell them.
transition
You had
to
to
Vita.
send them in the UMD, and if it was like a $10 game on the store, they'd make you spend $5 plus
Yeah.
your UMD to get a digital
So they
version.
they
for your
did
Vita.
that, and they still
I think
sell them
when
more
you
than
have
PSP.
when you have a thriving console, you don't cut support ever. You keep doing it. Like with the GameCube, for example, going back to that. Like Twilight Princess was going to be a GameCube game in the last year of its life cycle. That's just nonsense because it's a dead console. That's why they pushed it to the Wii. Let's get a big jump on the next console. Can you imagine if Sony, if they said, all right, we want our fans to buy the PS4 on day one. So, you know what, we're just not going to release The Last of Us. And we're going to delay it, and it's going to be a launch title exclusively on the PS. That'd be like an insane decision. Like, who would do that?
Well, no. I'm not saying they should delay stuff. No, I think they should go.
I think it's the same concept, though.
I think they should go 6 months or even a year into the Xbox One and PS4's life cycle, still coming out with software. Fine, but they have to at some point. You're gonna. I think maybe I'm saying it wrong. I don't want them to brick these consoles. I want them to still stream media and play all the old games that are already on the 360 and PS3 and be able to play online and utilize Xbox Live and PSN. That's fine. But the new stuff should not be coming on both consoles, like Watch Dogs or like
Assassin's
well,
Creed.
Watch Dogs and Assassin's Creed I see.
1 year, fine. 1
Yeah,
year. But
but-
if Assassin's Creed 5
Right.
still comes out
for
on 3,
instance,
that is a huge mistake.
I guarantee you they will. And 100% they will. And I think 6 as well, or whatever the following year.
To me, that's a mistake.
Because, look, if you're Ubisoft, you're going to see, okay, within this in that first 6-month period, you've got basically 150 million PS3s and 360s, and throwing Wii U's
And
in
you
there.
got 5 million.
Yeah. So you got that market, or you got the first 6 months of the PS4 in 720 or 1. Microsoft.
New Xbox.
You got what? 10
just
million
can't get that
in that
down.
first year, first 6 months at least. Maybe next year by this time, or after it goes through 2 holiday cycles, maybe you're at 25 million.
Yeah.
Maybe within the third year, maybe you're at 40 million. It's not 150 million.
I understand the logic, and I get that it's smarter, especially for third parties who don't give a fuck.
Every third-party game.
Yeah, they don't care. They
Has-
just want to sell as many as possible. They're happy because now instead of 2 platforms, they got 4. They're just like,
Magnet
here,
Beacons.
put it out.
Right.
You know, I'm saying from Sony and Microsoft's perspective, it's just
Well, I think from first-party
the only
games,
reason
they
I
are
have
doing that.
the only reason I have an opinion on this, I guess, is because I'm seeing the Vita and the PSP, what's happening over there, and I hope it doesn't. The same thing doesn't come true with the new consoles.
Well, Nintendo, the same thing happened with the DS and 3DS, where it took a while to train. Like Pokemon Black and White, a brand new Pokemon game came out on the DS after the 3DS was already out. Like what? You would think, oh, that would push units, but Nintendo looks at it and be like, all right, we put this on the 3DS, we sell 3 million units. We put this on the DS, we sell 18 million
Yeah.
units. Which one are we going to do it? You know,
both.
Well, they could have done that, but
And add
Well,
some,
but the
some
thing is,
special 3DS
but
Pokemon.
but for the 3DS, it plays all the DS games, so it's not even an issue for them because they can sell. Everybody
Yeah.
who's only got the 3DS, they can still buy the DS
Yeah,
games.
that's
Good point.
Yeah.
Damn, I didn't think of that. Yeah.
but like first
That's what
party.
the
Look at
Nintendo's-
Brian, always sneaking in there, taking jabs.
Is Microsoft making a single first-party game exclusive for the Xbox 360 anymore?
I don't think so.
Silence. Look at that.
I don't know. Yeah.
Sony doesn't have really a first-party, but their second-party studios of Beyond Two Souls is coming out this year.
That's it.
Gran Turismo.
Oh, and GT6.
Oh,
yeah.
it's pretty kind of a big deal.
Kind of a big deal.
Greatest selling franchise ever.
But I don't think first parties will really support. I think Sony might come out with another 1 or 2 big first-party games for the PS3. I really do. I think so. But they'll wait to be announced until next year, and then come out next year.
If I can, since both of you gentlemen have played it, and since you brought up Last of Us, could that have been a PlayStation 4 game? Do you think that could have?
I don't
moved some
think it
units?
should have. When you look specifically at Naughty Dog, it's like I said a couple weeks ago. That studio got split up into two teams. Once Uncharted 2 was completed, the team was split.
Yeah.
Half the teams went on to make Uncharted 3, and the other half started The Last of Us. They've gotten too big and too talented where they're going to start releasing annualized or semi-annualized releases with a couple different franchises.
Sure. Go ahead.
So I think that this was since the Last of Us was supposed to come out in the fall. It got delayed till now. So this was supposed to be last year's game.
Okay.
So
See, I was unaware of that.
I don't think they were going to push this all the way to the PS4's launch. Plus, Naughty Dog really doesn't care because they're utilizing the same engine that they have created right now, even on their PS4 titles.
Sure. I guess I was just more or less considering, because I didn't know that it was originally supposed to come out last fall.
I think it would have been cool, but this goes right into what Moss was saying. Why would they want to sell it to 3 million people? The Last of Us, I think they knew it was going to be big, but not this big. It was sold out.
That's my
everywhere
point.
after
With them kind of
Last of Us sold a lot more than they expected.
with them lacking that killer first-party title coming out at launch of PlayStation 4.
I don't agree with that, though.
No. Let me finish. Okay, knowing Naughty Dog's pedigree with what they've done in Uncharted on the PlayStation 3, that could have helped transition some people over.
I honestly don't think Uncharted 4. Once you finish Uncharted 3, you'll see what I'm saying. You'll be satisfied if they never made another one again because it ends very nicely. It kind of ties everything up.
Next week.
But I just don't think Sony would let Naughty Dog let that. It's too big and it makes a lot of money for them. I don't think they're going to be like, well, you guys wrapped it up nicely, so let's just walk away from Nathan
Same
Drake.
thing with Gears 3.
There
was no way that Microsoft's going to
Everybody who made Gears of War doesn't want to make it anymore. Epic wants to move on, and Microsoft's like, no, they did it with Bungie too.
Yeah.
Bungie's like, we're done with this universe. No,
Well,
it makes too much money for us, and even if they don't make it, somebody else will. There will be. What I'm trying to say is, I don't think we need it, but there will be an Uncharted 4.
Or as the trend seems to be going, you make a great first, second, third game, then you say it's over, and then you make a crappy prequel. Halo, Gears, God of War.
Look at
Reach,
Uncharted 0, it's coming.
Uncharted had a prequel. It's Golden Abyss on
Oh,
Vita.
okay. and
It's
that's
a very good game. It's actually a really good game, though.
yeah.
We're counting console versions, so we've got that crappy prequel coming.
I'll fucking slap you.
Uncharted 0, it's coming. Probably for
You just run around with Sully.
some other studio.
Young Nathan Drake Chronicles.
It's going to be, outsourced
Fighting
to
Nazis.
some third-party studio that's never made a game.
You find out how he got the scar on his chin.
All right. We did price. Where are the games? Where you? Where they at?
So, what I was
Where
sort
the
of-
white women at?
So, I think their release schedule was backwards.
Okay.
They're coming out. There's some other good games that are coming out or just came out. There's this. There's the Wonderful 101. Mm-hmm. It's an.
I'm so pissed about that game
Why is that?
because when I was watching
the
Nintendo
stream.
Direct,
Is that where
Wind
it went out?
Waker came on, cut out, and then next thing you know, Wonderful 101's on. I'm like, fuck that game! That's literally
Yeah.
when I'm sitting at the computer. That's exactly what I said.
I have mixed feelings about the game, but for completely different reasons. It's by the guy who did Beautiful Joe,
Yeah.
which I kind of enjoyed, but which I found infuriating after the first couple levels because the difficulty on that game was obnoxiously.
Beautiful Joe sucked because it was so fucking hard.
Yeah. It was. The first couple levels, this game is awesome. You're sitting there, you're rewinding time, you're speeding things up. This is so cool. And then you get this boss who takes 8 trillion hits. You're like, I'm done with this game. This is ridiculous.
But the point I'm making is that Wonderful 101, it looks like it's going to be a solid game.
Yeah, very well could be. He's a good guy. He's a good developer.
But it's going to get buried. Nobody's going to buy it.
No.
Nobody
Well, you
will
said
play it.
you picked up Wario.
I did.
Game & Wario?
Game & Wario, yeah.
Well, that's sort of a mini game.
It's mini games. I enjoyed it.
It's supposed to be a launch title, really,
Yeah,
with the Wii. It's supposed to be bundled, actually.
And it's $40, so it's cheaper than the average. So I think it could have gone for $30.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a very simple game, but it's fun. But it's not a system seller, that's for sure.
So I think there's this collection of games: Pikmin 3, Wonderful 101, Donkey Kong Country Returns, Yarn Yoshi, and Wind Waker HD. All 5 games might sell in that 500,000 to 1.5 million range. Maybe one of them will push 2 million or something. But none of them are system sellers, and they're big games. What I consider big games, Smash Brothers is one of them. New Zelda is one of them. And maybe Mario Kart you can throw in there.
Low end of the spectrum, but we'll throw it in there because Mario Kart sells pretty well.
And I think they're releasing them in the backwards order. Like if they announced, like people might be pissed because there's been no games and all, but if they said this holiday season,
Smash Brothers,
October is Mario Kart, November is Smash Brothers, and that's it.
Yeah,
you know,
that'd be
Nintendo
fine.
can publish 2 games for this console. Those would sell, and I think people would buy the system.
Yeah.
And then you follow that up. Oh yeah, next February, new Donkey Kong Country comes out. The following month, the Wonderful One comes out. The following month, Yarn
When there's
Yoshi.
a bigger install base.
And then suddenly you get all these games that are coming out. Then you throw in the new Mario. Then you throw in.
They're throwing out their B titles, if you will, ahead of their A titles, and they don't have any A titles to hold up the system right now.
Exactly, and they're too safe with their games, and nothing is going to sell is going to push the system. So I think it'll it'll sell 50,000 a week or whatever, even less than that.
You know, I know it's a stupid analogy, but it's kind of course, I'm a wrestling fan. I know you kind of follow. If you don't have that strong main event, that whole card isn't worth buying. Okay?
Exactly. That is
and that's the way that I look at the holiday season. It's just boxing or anything. Okay, unless you have that great main event to lead into, then you have nothing. You know, and like I totally agree. If they would have came out, even if they would have said Mario Kart November. We're going to do, 1 or 2 of the B titles before that, then Mario Kart, then another 1 and 2 of the B titles, and then Smash Brothers in March, whatever.
Yeah.
However you do, spread them out, come on.
Yeah. I don't know. As for me, I know I wanted one before it launched, then it got a little closer, I changed my mind and decided to wait. As someone who is waiting for Nintendo to find, like, I want this thing. I'm waiting for Nintendo to sell me on it. You know what I mean? I'm waiting and waiting. And I'm even looking at all those titles you listed. None of them. I don't care about any of it. Like, I want to get this thing. You know what I mean? I know eventually one day I will because I collect everything. But it might turn into what the Wii was for me. I got the Wii very late in its life cycle to play the 2 or 3 games that I felt I missed out on. And I'm starting to feel that same way with the Wii U. I'm waiting for them to just be like, here's these 4 or 5 can't miss titles, and I'll run out and grab one. Fine, it's like I thought the new Sonic game was finally going to be the one.
Lost World.
What's the one? The big 3? Is that it? Lost World.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the Wii.
Looks good. I call it Sonic Galaxy.
Yeah. it looks kind of cool, but it's not what I wanted at all. There's too much of the hit A to auto spin and heat sinking missile on top of it's the weird direction they've been going with Sonic in the last 3 or 4 games.
It's like you're on a track, essentially.
Yeah, it's
I don't know.
The levels are different. There's some 2D levels, there's some Mario Galaxy levels. I actually think it looks good, and I would throw that in with this laundry list of Pikmin 3 and Wind Waker HD, where it's like good games.
It's a great B title. It's a great support title.
That was the one though, because I know I go back and pick up Mario finally, and I know the Zelda's coming, and I'm like, finally something I might care about. This new Sonic, I might bite on this thing, and then I started watching some gameplay, and I'm like, you know what, this isn't for me either. Yeah. I'm like, I don't know.
I actually saw that, and I actually thought it looked good, and maybe I would pick that up as a B title, but.
But you already have the console. It's a lot easier for you to just make a $40. I still have to justify $350 plus tax plus the cost of a game, whatever, $60. So $410 plus tax to play Sonic.
Right.
It's hard to do.
In the back, really, I mean, I have a Wii U, and I think there's 2 games that are playable, that are fun. I think Lego City is great, and New Super Mario Brothers. Yeah. And even that's just an advancement of a sequel.
Yeah,
of
it
a
could
game.
have been done on the 3DS
Lego City is
or the
amazing,
Wii.
by the way.
Yeah,
that is
that's
by far the best game on that
Is it
console.
really that good? What-
Yeah.
what is
That's
that?
what I've heard. That is.
What does it
the-
play? Does it play like a Lego game, or does it play more like a Crackdown, or?
It
Grand Theft
plays
Auto?
like Grand Theft Auto-ish, where it's
See,
open
I'm
world
not-
and you got missions, but you don't need to do the missions.
which
you
is
can
which
run
is the
around.
basis for Lego Batman 2.
Okay.
That was built upon.
See, because I don't like Grand Theft Auto. Not the. I don't like the controls.
Mhm.
I do not like the way the driving works. I think the driving is awful. Does
Lego
it-
games
does
are
it-
fun to drive.
Does it?
Have you turned on your Wii U in months?
Yeah,
You played
got-
Metroid.
Well, yeah, Super Metroid, obviously.
30
Uh,
cents.
30 cents. Oh, all the time. I play Super Metroid at least once a year. New Super Luigi U. I picked that up. It's very hard.
Yeah, you can throw that in with the Pikmin as well.
Yeah.
Like, too early for that to come
Game
out.
and Wario was like 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago.
That's my
Yeah.
fear is buying this thing, beating one game, and
Then
then
having nothing to
just
do with it?
putting it on my shelf
What
for
I
8
think,
months.
I have a couple thoughts on it. Something dawned on me while you guys were talking about the Wii
You were
U
using the bathroom.
while I was going to the bathroom. I
Who's
think
taking a Wii?
I think the Wii U was rushed to market. I know it sounds crazy.
The Wii U?
Of
The
course,
Wii U.
of course it was.
It was rushed to market. They wanted to beat the next generation of consoles, so they rushed out.
But sadly, it was 2 years too late.
Well, I don't even think it was 2 years too late.
If the Wii U would have came out,
Power-wise, it's too late.
yeah, but see, if Nintendo would have joined the HD race
Mm-hmm.
in like 2010, it would have been a different story. Because now, sure, they're behind with the PS4 and Xbox One, but the Wii U 2 would only be 2 or 3 years off anyway. Where
Yeah.
it wouldn't be, you wouldn't be a full generation behind.
Yeah,
I think the controller is why it's so expensive, obviously, because it's an LCD with wireless and battery. That adds a lot of cost. And they rushed it out. Yeah, if they could have, if they had skipped on the Wii U controller and just gone with the Wii style remote and regular controllers like they do with the Wii, and brought it out in 2010, they could have had the same console
Because
for the same price.
the Wii lost steam like within
did.
the last 2-3 years
it
of
did.
its life.
It
too.
did. I think
It was desolate. There was like a game
I
or
think
two
by
a year
2008 or
worthwhile
2009
playing.
it was done.
No.
No, not that
that-
early. Like 11, right? 2011, 2012.
2009, New Super Mario Brothers came out, and that was the biggest game on the console.
Really?
You could
Bigger-
argue.
well-
It sold like 25 million
Really?
copies.
Okay.
In 2010,
Because
they had
I don't-
Donkey Kong Country Returns, which was big.
I was gonna say
and
about-
Super Mario Galaxy 2, which is probably the best game on the console.
Yeah.
And then,
But for gamers, I'm thinking like because one of the biggest things about the Wii, one of the biggest ways it sold early on was Wii Sports.
yeah,
Everybody I would say that easily 30% of the consoles people got it for Wii Sports and then never used it again.
I think more than that.
Maybe more
yeah.
than that.
I,
And I'm talking about those people.
I
Those
don't
people
know.
disappeared
Yeah.
at that point, and I think that a lot of the hardcore people might have been willing to buy a new console sooner, just for the
Potentially,
graphics
but-
upgrade.
in 2011, Skyward Sword came out, and it was their last hurrah, and then
How did that?
That's
how
what
did
I
that
think.
sell?
2011.
not too well.
Yeah.
No. But
Hated it.
I actually think. Look, I've said this earlier in I think part one.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing about the next gen games look really next gen to me outside of a few
Mm-hmm.
miscellaneous things. And I think for most gamers that are not people who are recording a video game podcast or
Mm-hmm.
they don't care about the specs. They really don't. I really think
I don't think that
outside
they
maybe
do,
that
but
2 to 5% of the
well,
game.
here's what I would say: they don't care about specs, but the Wii looks remarkably less good than the Xbox 360 and the PS3. So much that it looks like it's a
Looks
PS.
visually, really.
Yeah,
I actually think
Yeah.
to the naked eye, to most people, they don't see a difference. There's nothing that looks more.
I see a big.
I
difference.
don't- I-
If you look at The Last of Us and compare that to anything on the Wii, no way.
No, not the Wii. I'm saying if you look at The Last of Us and you compare that to the best looking game on the PS4 or the 720.
Oh no! I'm not talking about
I don't
that.
see
I'm
a
sorry, I'm not
difference.
talking about that. No, you're right. And that
that's
there's
what I'm
a-
talking about.
I don't know.
There's a step up, but it's
I
not
look at
great.
something like Battlefield 4, which I know nobody's shooter fans. Blah blah blah. Shooter bro game.
I'm buying it.
I'm talking visual.
Bro game
Visually, I don't see anything that looks that good.
on next gen. You're saying, or
The one that's
Comparatively.
oh, you don't see anything.
Yeah.
that
them
looks as good as
showcasing
that
it. I'm not saying it looks like a good game or fun, or I don't care if you like shoot. I'm just saying visually.
What I'm saying
That is the one game to me that I looked at it during E3 and I was like, wow, that's next gen. You also got to take into account, look at how shitty stuff looked like Lair.
Well, that's the
or
thing.
like
the first
like
generation.
Perfect Dark Zero.
Yeah.
Or like
And
Uncharted.
Look within one generation. Look within one generation. how it
Right.
looks two
Yeah.
generations separate once they figured out the hardware.
Right.
So the stuff you got to figure these amazing looking games like Killzone, Shadowfall. And,
I don't think they're
and-
amazing looking games. I think they're current gen games that just look.
I
They're
think they look a
sharper
lot
and they're
cleaner.
smoother and
Yeah.
with some better effects.
Is that a seller?
But you
for a
gotta
No,
system?
that is not a
It's
seller.
seller.
But what I'm
But
trying to
I'm
get
talking
at
about the Wii compared
is,
to the.
is when you
No,
look
Wii is a
look
different
into it
story.
in 3 or 4 more years, those are going to be the worst looking games the console's made.
Potentially,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
That's what I'm trying to say.
and not to pick sides or anything, but that's like Tony's like
sides.
hold on, let me get my thought out.
I don't even know what side I'm on.
All right, let me get my thought out.
Tony.
You've been jumping in on everybody. I've been quiet for a few minutes. All right, it happens every console generation where the games look like shit when they first come out. They don't look much better than what the current console is. PlayStation 2 games
Oh, they
didn't
looked
look
awful.
that great compared to PlayStation
games,
1.
Dreamcast games look better than first.
You
launched
don't get
PS2 games.
great looking
Yeah.
titles until I'd say maybe even the last 2 or 3 years of the console
Well,
generation,
I think-
and that even goes for in my opinion for Wii. Look at how, and even though I couldn't stand the game, look at how Skyward Sword looked compared to Twilight Princess. Not graphic, not visually the art style, but like just the graphic capabilities that they were able to pull out, the draw distances, and how
I don't think it looked much better, but
Maybe I'm in the minority. I see a vast improvement already.
I think you are
I
in the
don't.
minority, and I think 95% of gamers are
I
not
see
going
a
to
lot
see
of
the
light
graphical
bloom.
difference.
If I
well,
hold
Bloom
up,
was in the 360.
if I hold up PS3 and 360 games against what they're demoing right now, I could.
Because
see a vast
because
difference already.
I'm technically minded, I actually sit and read Digital Foundry sometimes. I can see the differences.
The shading, the lighting,
Yeah,
the coloring.
I can see the differences.
it's just.
But the average person's not going to notice a lot of the small stuff.
I don't. I
Yeah,
I,
they're
I
not gonna notice the
am
small stuff.
the average. I don't know the difference between 720 and 1080. I don't see a fucking difference in that. For me. Okay, so when you guys earlier in part 1 said that most games are 720 and they're not actually. I didn't
Really?
fucking know.
Who knows?
I was like, wait a minute. On the back of the
Well,
box it
well,
says 1080. Whatever.
But
It
run-
looks pretty
run
to
to
me.
1080.
Well, on
it
the
looks
Xbox,
pretty to me.
the Xbox has a really good scaler.
Yeah.
That's why Xbox games, because like on the PS3, a lot of games they will not hit 1080p at all. They will be 720p on your screen. The Xbox has a better scaler and can upscale them that are 720.
The thing is I've never turned to Nintendo for their graphic capability. I've turned to them for their deep, rich gaming experiences
I
and
agree.
stories.
I agree, but third parties want hardware they can use, and that's the big challenge that
Yeah, but-
they make jokes.
Look,
And I get that. I get
Nintendo's
that.
not. Nintendo wants third parties, but they're not getting them.
But for me, for being the person who's on the fence about getting the Wii U, I'm not going to play Batman on my Wii U. I
See, I'm
want to
thinking
play.
about doing that only because if it's not on the PS4, I might as well get the best looking version, and that technically should be the Wii U.
I get that, but like, you're not gonna play Mass Effect on your Wii.
No,
You're gonna
well,
play Nintendo games on your Wii, right?
But if Mass Effect, let's say theoretically that Mass Effect came out on the Xbox and the Wii at the same time, and the saves were could be ported over, or you could play the whole thing on the Wii from the get go from the Wii U. I would have gotten it for the Wii U. That's completely separate. I like right now I'm waiting for Chronicles of Mystara to hit the Wii U. Right now it's on PS3, Xbox 360, and it's on PC. And I want to get on the Wii U because the Wii U is the console of those four that I will have the longest. Because I really don't game on the PC. So if it was, because I was going to get on the PS3, but I'm like, well, but I'm going to get rid of my PS3 in like a year, unless the Gaikai thing doesn't come through. I'm going to get rid of the PS3. So what console am I going to hang on to the longest of all the consoles I have right now? The Wii U. My Xbox 360 is already gone, in anticipation of the
Right.
upcoming generation. Because there's nothing on the Xbox 360 that I feel I'm going to go back to.
But regarding the graphics, like I don't think Nintendo, the guts of the system. I mean, obviously for a tech person, this seems like this is ridiculous. The Wii U is like 7 years behind, like, and they think forget it. But and then you realize, look at the Wii, and that was about 5-6 years behind. The difference is, I think that was a bigger. I think the Wii to the 360 was a bigger lag. Like there was a bigger difference between the systems because of the HE comparatively to the Wii U to the One and the PS4.
Yes, but the memory limitations are really huge.
But I don't think the average consumer sees it. Third parties will.
Third parties. Well, look at Skyrim on the PS3 compared to the Xbox 360. The Xbox 360 has like twice the available memory because the because it shares the graphic memory. Whereas this is a whole big thing. The PS3
Yeah,
has
right.
256 megs and then 256 for visuals.
yeah.
See, Nintendo releases unique piece of hardware
For their games.
and challenges the development teams to make games.
Well,
for the
it's
hardware.
also what
What's
idea did Miyamoto have this week?
Sony and Microsoft go to publishers
Yes.
and be like, "What do you want? What do you need inside of this
Yes, that's true.
to move us forward?"
Right.
Nintendo doesn't care. They're just like, "Here's the
Forward.
hardware.
Well,
you want to
they-
make
they
games
care
for
a
it?
little
Make
bit.
for it."
Forward compatible.
Yeah. Nintendo does want those third parties because that's where Microsoft and Sony make more money.
It's
Yeah.
like
They
you
make-
were saying with,
yeah.
with the memory and the RAM. Like, Nintendo first party games are not super intensive on like AI.
No, they're not. You're right.
So Nintendo doesn't care because for what they make their games for on their system, they don't need that shit,
But-
and it just raises the price of the Wii U.
It's not hard to path a Goomba.
Right. It's
But
not.
but you got something like a military shooter on the other. They got hundreds of guys all with their unique guns, all running at you, shooting different trajectory bullets at you all at one time, and they has to render everything. That's why Nintendo doesn't get those kind of games all the time.
Whoa, calm down.
I think Nintendo's. Remember, I said Nintendo should look at Nintendo for their answers here,
Yeah.
and I really don't think this is a big deal. And even let's discount third parties altogether. And I don't think Nintendo. I think Nintendo did rush the launch of the console, but not. This has nothing to do with specs or anything. And I don't even think the 2010 idea would have been a good idea. I think it's the software problem. It's purely a software problem. If the Wii U never even launched yet, and they would have launched, say, this November head-to-head with PS4 with last gen's tech.
Okay,
Okay, this is my hypothetical.
following you. Gotcha.
So
far.
last gen's tech.
Pick up what he's throwing down.
Yeah.
Smell what
Smell
I'm
his
Smell what you're cooking.
smell what I'm stepping in.
Yeah,
Whatever.
sure.
All right.
Both cooking
Threw a
and
rock
stepping in.
reference out there, but okay.
Okay. If it launched the same day as the PS4, even with its 7-year-old technology or whatever, but said launching day one with Smash Brothers, with Mario Kart,
Buying it.
and Mario 3D Land or whatever.
That
3
would've
games.
sold. Sure.
3 games.
Yeah.
Forget these 15 games
Yeah.
or whatever. And then they follow that up with all their software. It doesn't matter what the text, what the specs are.
And I personally, my perspective, I agree. And that's what I said. I've never turned to Nintendo because their graphics or anything or anything like that. I don't go see a Pixar movie because look at how realistic those toys look.
Right.
You go for the experience and for the story. Granted, Pixar's a bad example because their shit does look good. Okay. Better example, I went and saw Jay and Silent Bob's super groovy cartoon movie. Looked like shit. Okay, great fucking story. All right, I go there for their gameplay experience and for that nostalgia factor. I don't need the visuals from Nintendo, per se. Yes, it's nice. I understand there needs to be accommodations made for current times, that they have to hold up to certain regards. They shouldn't be 7 years behind. The thing should have a decent fucking memory, especially when you're allowing people to download stuff. If you're going to put that ability out there, then you have to, your hardware has to match it. I get that. You have this vast gold mine of virtual console games that they can release, but you don't have the storage for it.
I don't know. I think in Nintendo's case, in all three of these, particularly Nintendo's, but all three of the companies, I think we're going to have a decent indicator after this upcoming holiday season. What are you
It's
pointing
not
at?
bad. It's not too bad.
No,
We got the
let's
we
cover
got
the
the,
air.
we got the air on.
Oh,
It makes a little whoosh noise.
I think last holiday season doesn't count much because it was the Nintendo core rushing out to buy it. I think now that they do have some decent games on the horizon and they do have stuff that could appeal to some people. I personally don't care about many of them like Pikmin stuff, but they could.
I don't think they have decent games on the horizon. They have decent games like beyond the horizon.
They've got decent filler games on the horizon, but no.
I think post this upcoming holiday season is going to be a little bit more telling.
Well, but
If
People are going to say post this coming holiday season, Nintendo hasn't launched any of their big games yet. I think people like to blame Nintendo, and they have flaws. It's too high priced. Online is not comparable to the 360 or the PSN. It's there's a lot of problems with the system, but the number one problem, it would have solved all of its problems if it had software. If it had quality games, if Smash Brothers would have been out by now, if new Zelda was coming out this year, I think all of these complaints would have not been there. There would be significantly more people buying the console, and people wouldn't care that it's 7-year-old tech, that the online sucks, that it's overpriced, because the software would be there. And it's because the software is not there, it's exposing all of the other problems. Because that's the same thing that happened with the Wii, but in 2006 and 2007, nobody was saying, oh, the Wii sucks because it's underpowered. They were saying, this thing is amazing because it's got the new Zelda, it's got Wii Sports, Galaxy, Brawl, and then that would last you 4 or 5 years like it did the Wii. But the problem is there's no software, and software is the biggest thing that they are missing.
The reason, and this ties into software, the reason I say the specs are no good is that all the big names and engines are saying they will not be putting their engine on the Wii U because it's not powerful enough for the new engines. So the Frostbite and the Unreal engines aren't being upgraded for the Wii U. Unity will, and Unity is a big one with the indie community, so that could help them. But that's the issue I think that the Wii U has, is that you're right that Nintendo needs to be putting the software on it, but if they don't have third parties, they'll never break out of the issue, which is that they just have the same people buying their console over and over and over again, and they will never get new customers.
Right.
They'll get you and me, and they'll eventually get Jason, maybe Tony, but then they'll never get, like, the Wii was the first console to really bring in people that weren't gamers, and they dropped the ball huge there. Because everybody bought it, like a good chunk of people bought it for the Wii Sports, and then nothing else.
No, I think they tried. I cut them some stuff because I think they tried with making games a little more mainstream with some of their, and they simplified a lot of their franchises with like Kirby and with Donkey Kong, and Wii Sports Resort still sold very well. New Super Mario Brothers was a classic game that I think. That sold 25 million units, so I think it might have been more than 30 million, actually.
Okay.
A lot of the people that bought Wii Sports also bought Mario Kart, so I don't think there's a lot of people that just bought 2 or 3 games. I wouldn't say they completely dropped the ball. That first 4 years of the Wii was solid. It was just the last 2 or 3 that...
They really need a strong showing next year at E3. And where Tony was talking about how people keep saying, this fall and everything, I don't think, they've missed the boat on this fall. They need a strong showing this time next year when Microsoft and Sony start showing those big AAA titles that they've been holding back on. That's really when Nintendo needs to shine.
Final thoughts, Brian?
Final thoughts? Nintendo is in a rough spot. They can get out of it. I don't know if they will or not.
Any final thoughts on Nintendo, Tony?
Yeah, curious, like I was saying a couple minutes ago, I'm curious to see what this holiday season brings. I think now that it's not Nintendo running a one-horse race, I'm curious on all 3 aspects for all 3 companies what's going to happen, because I think Sony's going to explode right at the holiday season. I think Microsoft's going to be trailing. I think they're both going to pass up the Wii U just by a little within a few months, but then it's going to be curious. It's going to be compelling to see what Nintendo does when their bigger stuff happens, like you said, beyond the horizon, because that'll be right around that same time. I can't wait. I love this shit. And I can't fucking wait.
And that's what I had where I wanted to jump in and like I said, E3 next year when Sony and Microsoft
nobody's got hardware anymore. It's just software.
And when they
software.
start showing, because next year at E3 you'll see more on Halo, you'll see a God of War and Assassins or Uncharted or whatever.
Hopefully we'll see Zelda.
That's when Nintendo really needs to step up.
The Last Guardian
and blow it out.
Delayed again.
And blow it out with their software, because that's what they're good at. Is their big killer titles is what they're good at.
It's gonna be an interesting. Maybe I should extend it. Not holiday season. It's gonna be an interesting 2014.
Yeah,
I think there's gonna be a lot of ups and downs. I have a bad feeling with Sony. I said this last week on the show that they're gonna explode this holiday season, take a huge lead on everybody, and then it's just gonna stop once all the core buys it. I don't think there's enough pull for the casuals. And then that's when I think the Wii U and the Xbox slowly start creeping on PS4.
But I
think PS4 is going to smash everybody this Christmas.
I think this Christmas Sony will take the... one thing we didn't even touch on. I think this is the year the 3DS has been selling. This is the year the 3DS comes west in a sense because Pokemon's coming out, 6th gen Pokemon. I think that the 3DS is going to explode this year in the West because it's been growing, but it's not,
That's the system I really want now.
and
It's not a Wii U, it's the 3DS.
Plus Zelda, a brand new Zelda coming out. I think it's going to explode in the West, the 3DS. So Nintendo will ride that through this year, while the Wii U will struggle, I think, mightily this year. I think Sony will jump ahead, like I said, but it's going to come down to software. We don't know what's coming out between February and June next year for either the One or the PS4.
If anything.
Yeah, and they're going to need it. With Nintendo, if they wait until next year E3, the ship will have already left. They will need by, I think, December, before this year is over, they will need to have, they'll do it through their Nintendo Directs for the Wii U to survive going forward. They will need to showcase the new Zelda. They will need to have a release date for Smash Brothers, I think in the first 6 months of next year for Smash and Mario Kart. If those three things don't happen, all three of them, I think the Wii U is, I don't know.
They're going the way of the GameCube did?
I don't know. I think that'd be a hope. I'm worried that if that doesn't happen, that it might be dead in the water.
Yeah, because this only sold 4 or 5 million?
Yeah, like I think there's going to be so much
I feel
negative.
bad for 'em. I don't want any of the consoles to struggle like that.
I think there might be so much negativity around the Wii U where it goes the route, not so much of the GameCube, but more of the route of the Dreamcast, where the PS2 came out and the Dreamcast died.
Yeah.
Oh, it was the saddest thing ever.
And that brings it back around to the death of Sega.
It's funny when you're like, oh, my favorite console sold 75 million, yours only sold 70. Ha ha ha, we got you by 5 million. But that's sad when a company like 4.5 million units. Like that's bad. I feel bad for the 3DS and the Vita right now. I'm worried about both of them.
I'm not worried about 3DS.
What did I say? Not 3DS. Wii U and Vita.
Okay.
That's what I meant.
This is the year 3DS comes west. I like that.
Calling it. From the Dungeon Master ceremonies.
Yes.
Yes, sir. All right, this has been episode 74. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Catch us next week, same time, same place.
Hey guys, this is Brian, sub-host at FwdCompatible. I wanted to let you know about a great event at the Orlando Fashion Square Mall. On Saturday, July 13th, you can play Injustice: Gods Among Us and compete to win a Sony PlayStation 4. It's only $10 to enter, and all the proceeds go to the New Hope for Kids charity. Orlando Fashion Square is located at 3201 East Colonial Drive in Orlando, Florida. You can check out orlandofashionsquare.com for more details. Pre-register, win some cool prizes, and help support an awesome charity.